Hello and welcome to Access to All Areas, brought to you by Crypto.com. Matthew Lloyd, we have just witnessed two epic semi-finals.
Absolutely loved it, Damo. Like you, I was there in Adelaide on Friday night, and just the passion, the drama, the theatre of what these two finals brought. It's magnificent. It's what finals footy's about.
It sets up some intriguing prelim finals. We'll take a look. Friday night, Sydney Swans versus Port Adelaide. Saturday, Geelong versus Brisbane Lions. Let's have a look at the Port Adelaide aspect, Lordo. What they brought against Hawthorn on Friday night is the type of heat they are going to need against the Cats.
Yeah, they were embarrassing against Geelong, that first final, and they came out as you'd expect them to. Like, this pressure, though, is extreme, and I think it spooked Hawthorn. Like, it's the difference in the game. Like, to get out to a three-goal margin won them the game in the end because Hawthorn couldn't rein it in, or they did get in front at one stage, but this is magnificent, Damon. You got Warner, Heaney, Goulden, Papley, Braden Campbell, so many good high-quality players. You've got to get in their face, and they have to do exactly this early in that game.
And they had multiple numbers at these contests, didn't they? Look, there's two players tackling regularly, and it basically was that way right through to the final siren.
Yeah, and I think it's something Hawthorn will have to look at, because I thought in the final they need to kick the footy a little bit more, and they brought upon the Port Adelaide pressure by just looking for handball, and it caused them some trouble. So well done to Port Adelaide for the way they scouted Hawthorn, planned and prepared for them, and they got them the win.
They've rolled the dice all year, the Hawks. They chose to do again when they moved James Sicily to full forward in the last quarter. Now, it worked, but prior to that scoreline there, you can see 3 goals down there now. He's kicked that goal, missed 2 more, but they did concede the 3 goals without him being in the back line, which got them, as you just pointed out, the lead that they were able to maintain ultimately.
Yeah, I thought it was a brave coaching move by Sam Mitchell, moving Sicily forward, considering how tight it was. But
he was huge in the last quarter.
Georgiades was fantastic, but I thought they lost more than they gained, in my opinion. Some will say, well, Sicily kicks that goal, and you're not going to be saying that. But I thought, at least, though, next year they've got Barras and Battle that can come in, and Frost will be back. It's their forward line which worries me a little bit. I thought Gunston struggled.
You like Sicily as a permanent potential player?
I saw him first burst onto the scene in the VFL. I think it was for Box Hill Hawks, and he was a dominant forward. So I think that's where he can go next year to try. Chil's not the answer. He's a number 3, probably Chil. Cal Shadir's still going to need more time. Gunston subbed out twice. So, I think Sicily next year forward is the answer.
Yeah. And just the general style of the Hawthorn Footy Club, do you feel it's something that naturally flows on into 2025?
Yeah, but you've got to take your chances. So I could see how disappointed Sam. So there's no guarantee. Teams will scout them a lot more. Yep. Next year they'll be, a lot of people will tip them to be premiership favourites or top 4. But it was one that got away on Friday night. Yeah,
opportunity missed. Yeah. The emotions were hot throughout the game. They were hot post-match. Now, we've all seen this. We've all had opinions on this. And we saw last night, Lordo, the AFL itself come down with a $20,000 fine on Ken Hinkley and the Port Adelaide Footy Club for the exchange of words with Jack Ginnivan. You're not flying Jack on the back of his tweet about see you in 14 days to Brodie Grundy. James Sicily there clearly took offence at it. Let's wade through it, because to me the Hawthorn Footy Club deliberately, provocatively was in your face all year in these types of moments, and the moment that came back on them and it was provocative to their face, they didn't handle the moment.
But I want to ask you, just on the $20,000 towards Ken, has the AFL overreacted in your opinion?
I feel they have. Yeah. I also do concede, Lotto, that they couldn't walk past it given what they did to Jason McCartney the previous week for his contact with Tom Papley. So I feel it was a lot less than that. I'd love to know exactly what was said. I think there was an F-bomb dropped in there somewhere, but this is a big game of footy, and it was said from a distance. And look, Sicily made it worse. Now, he's got every right to do what he wants to do, but I think James Sicily, Lordo, was dealing with his own mental demons of missing the goal that would have got the Hawks into a prelim final, as much as he was dealing with Ken Hinkley delivering some words to his teammate in Jack Ginnivan. Yeah,
my opinion is that Ken handled himself poorly, but I don't believe they needed to see a monetary fine for what he did there. And it's to get the same fine as what Jason McCartney did really surprises me.
Yeah, and even the Hawthorns narrative deliberately of positioning Jack Ginnivan as a young man. Now, Jack Ginnivan's a 4-year player now, and he's been an adult all season, and they've embraced that aspect of him. And the aggressive words that Sam Mitchell said were used. Look, I think they failed that moment. A little part of an otherwise outstanding season for them.
With Port Adelaide, with Ken Hinkley getting that win, does that dispel any doubts that he coaches next year, or does he still need to not get belted off the park of the SC?
Yeah, look, he can't have a qualifying finals type of result that he had last week against Geelong, against the Swans. To me, it has to be at the very least a gallant loss, and he will be preparing to win the game of footy, no doubt. But I think it's still a line ball situation, Lotto. The other semi-final, GWS versus Brisbane Lions, there were just so many aspects of this game that were so good for GWS for so long, but this is what happens to this club, and they now potentially have left 2 grand finals on the table.
Yeah, and Brisbane, that would have been a massive story had they lost in the way they were about to lose. Full credit to them because their talent is undeniable, and that's the same for the Giants. Like the Giants are, the way they've gone out the last 2 years, they'd be shattered because you've got to take your chances. But Brisbane, full credit to them, 6th year in a row they're around the mark, Damo. But
what you're showing here is just how dominant GWS was, but from the lens of Brisbane letting them be that way, and there's momentum swings that this club has endured all year. Arguably, the 44 points that the Giants were up could have been even more.
Yeah, as I said, they cannot play this way and think they can come to the MCG and beat Geelong. So they've got to be much better and play 4 quarters or at least 3.5 quarters. Otherwise, they won't get away with it.
It came to this. Dane Zorgo had an amazing last third quarter and fourth quarter after a really bad start. Now, Joe Daniher, look at that goal from a free kick, which was dubious for an insufficient intent. But then this mark from the Kai Lohmann kick on Sam Taylor and the seizing of the moment to go back and kick the goal to put his team into a preliminary final. We're making this the performance of the round for Crypto.com, the Crypto.com bold performance of the week, Joe Daniher.
Absolutely clutch, Joey Daniher. Yeah, what he did, what a finals player he's become. So it's Brisbane. Brisbane are dangerous. I really think they are a chance against Geelong because their best is so good, but they got to, they can't afford to. I think Chris Scott's such a good coach. Yeah. He's not going to allow a 40-point margin and then lose a sort of game like the way the Giants did.
A player of focus for the Cats will be Will Ashcroft, won't he? He's, for the second week in a row, stood up big time in a final, helped change momentum in this game against the Giants and was huge the previous week against Carlton. Lordo, the fact he's only 11 games back from a knee reconstruction in his second season of football, we are witnessing a pretty special evolution of a play here.
As good as Lachie Neale is, he does struggle at times with the tag. He's worked through a lot of tags, but he also was shut down again by Toby Bedford. So the blessing for him is the better Ashcroft goes, they might have to start thinking next year, do we go to Will Ashcroft? I think that's his development, the way he's going as a player, and will really support Lachie Neale. A
lot of problems to iron out for Chris Fagan as he prepares for this prelim final, and one of them is maybe the discipline of Cam Rayner here. It's just a couple of key free kicks that were given in this last quarter where not much could go wrong for them at that stage, and he was lucky to get away with the outcomes here.
He would have been the story. I think if they had lost this game, it would have been Cameron Rayner has had another really poor final. So last week he was great, like he was in the first final last year, but his prelim and his next final were really poor, and his grand final was poor. So he has to step up this week if there to be any chance.
Yep. Lotto, let's take a look now at what's happened in the final quarters of the GWS Giants season the past 2 weeks. They did everything but beat Sydney. They did everything but beat Brisbane Lions. But you tally up the scores in those final 2 quarters of those 2 games, and you've got a very, very damning scoreline of 3-3 against 12-6, which has cost them spots in preliminary finals, obviously. And I would argue, Lordo, they've left on the table from 2023, where they lost a prelim final by 1 point, add 2024 to it as well. 2 grand finals have been left on the table.
Yeah, I think they need to review their program and they need to ask questions of Adam Kingsley and the coaching staff. Okay, if I'm Jimmy Bartell and I'm a director of the club or the board, I'm asking the questions. Can you explain to us in the next week why this continually happens? Because it's not the first time. I want to go back to round 5, Lachie Whitfield speaking after the St Kilda 1-point win that they held on for, where they conceded 6 goals to 1 in the last quarter.
And how do you assess the game? Clearly controlled a lot of the game, and then probably for 30 minutes it was all about the Saints, but how do you quickly assess that?
Yeah, look, I think we're still not really getting our defence right at the moment. Our offence is pretty good. And yeah, we were able to control it in patches, especially through the second and third quarter. But yeah, they moved the ball hard, they ran hard in that last quarter, so credit to them, they really came back well.
So that's round 5, Lachie Whitfield saying, we just can't get our defence right. And then fast forward another 20 weeks, and it cost them exactly the same way. So here's Adam Kingsley now speaking over the last 2 weeks after their loss against the Sydney Swans, and then this one on the weekend.
No, we didn't play the last quarter. Just like we didn't play the first quarter against Brisbane a few weeks ago, or the first quarter against Melbourne, or the first quarter against Carlton. We only played 3 quarters. We played a very, very good 3 quarters, but it wasn't good enough. We're not the finished product yet, and I've been saying that all year. Unfortunately, it's evident, and so that's disappointing. But yeah, we've just got to improve. We got some feedback today that we weren't good enough, and we got feedback last week, and we're not yet a premiership brand, and we've got to continue to work towards that.
So in that review I'm talking about, I'd be asking Adam, is it your game plan that the players just cannot sustain what you're asking them to do? Fitness, are you worried about the fitness levels of the players? Our leadership, do we question the leaders and the senior players why they can't stop momentum swings? So they're all the questions I'd be asking of Adam Kingsley.
You dealt as an Essendon player in 1999 with that type of harrowing feeling, not getting through to a grand final. I know it's happened a week earlier for GWS here, but you responded in 2000. But they've now got 2 years of, I think, of harrowing feelings to deal with as a collective.
Yeah, and we left premierships on the table that era too. And then what happens is the Brisbane Lions come along, one of the great teams, and you never get back and you never get another look at it. So like Hawthorn, like the Giants, there's no guarantee you get back there. They are that hard to win and they've lost a golden opportunity.
Now, we had confirmation late last week of something I think the industry has felt for some time, Lotto. That is that there is interest from the Gold Coast Suns on that man on screen, Dustin Martin, who checked out of Richmond Footy Club for pretty much the entirety of 2024. This is the final moments of his time as a Richmond person, where he farewelled quite emotionally the Richmond crowd. Ironically, it was against Gold Coast Suns. He's embracing Damien Hardwick there. Conversations have been happening for some time, and the charade of him going there is now in play.
Do you believe what they're saying is that he called them and said, I want to play football?
All I know about this footy club, the Gold Coast Suns, they stage manage issues media-wise and publicly, Lotto, and it's been on for some time.
Do you think...
Do you like the idea, though?
I don't. I would just wonder, would it be the bravest or the smartest decision they've ever made and said, no, we've got to look past Dustin Martin and a 33, 34-year-old and back in what we've got here.
But that's not working either. They keep failing and falling short of finals.
Yeah, I know, but I'm not sure. Unless Dustin Martin says to them, do you know what, I just had no motivation. We're a bottom 2 club. I had injuries. My back was sore. On what I've seen, I wouldn't be taking Dustin Martin.
Unless, of course, he was protecting himself for 2025 by not giving much to Richmond in 2024. He's allowed to do that. He won 3 grand finals for them almost personally. Hey, Bailey Smith's another one, Lotto. Again, we've known of this for some time. It became confirmed last week. And late in the season, he was training, strangely enough, for the Bulldogs, but he's off to the Cats.
Yeah, huge for Geelong, because Bailey Smith on a wing, a bit of midfield time, inside midfield. What a recruit for a club that may well be the premiers again this year. Huge. But again, I look at the Western Bulldogs and say, how does it get to this point? You've had 18 months, 2 years to try and work on this guy, and yet he's just sat in rehab all year, and as soon as the season's over, he walks out.
And Josh Dunkley doing the same thing 2 years earlier. Dan Houston, Lotto, 5AA radio in Adelaide 2 weeks ago, was adamant that he was staying, but let's take a listen first.
Where is your future? Is it at the Port Adelaide Football Club?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I've said in the past that I'm contracted and I absolutely love the footy club. I love being in Adelaide.
So you're not leaving next year?
No, I'm not leaving next year. Yeah, I wouldn't have signed the contract if I wasn't, keen on Adelaide or keen on Port Adelaide. And, I love the place. I love the footy club and the footy club's been good to me. So, I'm committed to Port Adelaide.
It's as strong as you can be, Lordo, and I'm always taking the view, you take a player at his word until you know otherwise, but there's not one footy club in Melbourne who doesn't think he's available to them next year.
Kevin Bartlett used to say lying is football's second language, and it's been bizarre, this situation. He's out, then he's back in, and then it seems like he's on the table again.
Yep. Let's take a look at what lies ahead, Lordo, and there's a big chance to win some prizes here. 2 tickets to the 2024 Toyota AFL Grand Final and a crypto prize wallet. Submit your finals tips at the link below there on screen, all thanks to crypto.com, and we can see the prelim finals matchups there. Who have you got?
I think it's a rematch of a couple of years ago, Sydney and Geelong.
I do too.
Yeah.
I do too. So thanks for watching Access to All Areas after the semi-final weekend of the AFL. We'll be back next week to have a look at the prelim finals.
Want to get all the latest footy news in one hit? From injuries to breaking news, the latest from the coaches, the Footy Feed team has you covered. Watch it now on afl.com.au and the AFL Live app or wherever you get your podcasts.